Stadium, the 49ers are hoping to take a giant step forward, maybe even into the postseason as they host the Houston Texans.
On January 2nd, 2022, I was there. I was gathered around the tree with my family on Christmas Day 2021. The usual was happening. Paper was being torn, thick packaging tape was being sliced, and boxes were being opened. If you made a "It's not Christmas until" meme for me, it would state that it wasn't Christmas if a jersey wasn't in my annual Christmas haul. My mom got me a Freedom Cantor Celtics alternate, and my wife got me a Niners Deebo Samuel. But it was something leading towards something more.
So that's part of one present. It's part of one.
I couldn't help putting two and two together. With 2 games left in the 49ers 2021 season after a tough loss to the Tennessee Titans on December 23rd. One of those remaining games was a home game. I would find the gift I wanted to open last. A gift box with a single solitary sheet of paper would confirm what I had already figured out.
Christmas Day on Sunday, January 2nd, you and I will be going to Levi Stadium to see the 49ers play against the Texans. You're taking the P out, all right? This is going to be my first 49ers game in 30 years.
I would be going to my first 49ers game in 28 years. On top of that, I would be going to a place I had never been to before. After another 6-10 season in 2020 that I correctly predicted, I was hoping the Niners would at least try to get to the playoffs. Even if they so happened to miss the playoffs on the last game, I just wanted them to at least try and make sure most of the teams stayed off the shelf. Guys, 3-5 after week 9 isn't an improvement. I don't care if 2 of your best running backs are out. Can you do better? Over the next 7 games, they did do better, winning 5 of those games. I'm not even too crushed about their loss to the Seahawks in that stretch. The NFC West was so competitive, the Hawks would be the only team in the division left out in the cold. A 5-2 turnaround still kept the Niners in the hunt at 8-7. All they had to do was pretty much win out and get some help. Well, the team coming to town for the home finale was not only the team my sister in Texas gets behind, but even she said this would be an easy win. I remember when I rooted for the Houston Texans in 2016, they were a halfway decent team. Despite going 4-12 in 2017 after putting all of their eggs in the Deshaun Watson basket, the Tex went to the playoffs in the next 2 years. They even had the Kansas City Chiefs dead to rights in the 2019 divisional playoff and choked it away. Thanks a lot, guys. If you guys had finished off the Chiefs, I probably wouldn't have a need to make a 13-minute video agonizing over Super Bowl 54. You deserve that return trip to rock bottom. Bill O'Brien can get lost after a 0-4 start, and you guys can just have Romeo Crennel fill in and finish 4-12 again. You want to continue your penance? How about your star quarterback getting in hot water because he tried to get a whole army of masseuses to massage more than just his aching boner? Bones. I meant massage his aching bones. Don't worry, he would eventually become Cleveland's problem. The Texans would continue to fall in the abyss. In fact, I think the team took a trip to Fort Hood and stole a few tanks from their base. Because that's what they were doing after winning their season opener against the Jaguars. 8 straight losses. After the bye week, they still continued to roll those tanks down Crawford Street, going 3-3 in the next 6. In fact, going into this game, they were on a 2-game winning streak, punching the Jags in the mouth a second time and playing spoiler to the Chargers' playoff hopes. Starting quarterback for the Texans, Davis Mills, a 3rd-round pick out of Stanford. The rookie Mills would be thrown in the deep end after Tyrod Taylor got injured in week 2 of the season. In the middle of the season, Mills would be the team's permanent starter after Taylor's subpar performance. Despite his horrid 2-9 record, Mills would set a team record for most yards thrown by a rookie quarterback. His output of 16 touchdowns and completion percentage was the second among rookies, right behind the Patriots' Mac Jones, a 1st-round pick. Starting quarterback for the Niners, Jimmy, he hurt his thumb and wouldn't be playing? So who would it be? Another rookie from the 2021 draft class, Trey Lance. Lance was a stellar quarterback in the NCAA Football Championship subdivision with North Dakota State. In the 2019 season, Lance would have a perfect record for the Bison en route to the FCS National Championship. In that championship campaign, he passed for over 2,700 yards, ran for 1,100 yards, threw 28 touchdown passes, ran for 14 TDs, and threw 0 interceptions. Lance was the MVP of the 2020 championship win over James Madison. Also, he won the Walter Payton Award and the Jerry Rice Award for the FCS Best Offensive Player and Freshman, respectively. Fitting that Lance would win an award named after Jerry Rice because the 49ers would take a chance on Lance, drafting him 3rd overall after a trade with the Dolphins. It was time for this rookie to show what he could do. It's the Texans. This should be a walk in the park. The first quarter was rather uneventful, with the exception of Elijah Mitchell of the Niners getting dropped for a 3-yard loss on a 4th and 1 play. These two teams were just punting the ball back and forth. Hey, I know the Texans have the 3rd overall pick locked up and they don't care, but the Niners should care. They have a playoff spot to fight for. To the second quarter, after a couple of more punts. Okay, there's a word to describe this kind of football game.
Boring.
On the very first play of another Niners possession, it wouldn't end with a punt. It would be worse as Lance threw a pass intended for George Kittle.
And intercepted. Picked off at the 35-yard line by Desmond King, who's coming back on the sideline. There is a penalty marker down back in the vicinity of the interception.
After the Niners accepted an illegal blocking penalty on Justin Reed after the pick, the Texans would start on their own 20.
52 will be declined. The illegal block in the back will be enforced. 1st and 10, Houston.
This was when one of the teams would strike first, but the Texans' offense would take their sweet time. This drive began with over 9 minutes left in the first half. After converting on 3rd down 3 times, they would get inside the Niners' 7-yard line. 7 minutes were milked on this drive, and it wasn't until the first play after the 2-minute warning that Mills would find Brandon Cooks for the first score of the afternoon.
By Brandon Cooks.
The Niners still had plenty of time to get on the board. Of course, it doesn't work if you guys go 3 and out. Thankfully, the Texans didn't take long in punting the ball back. With less than 40 seconds left in the half and 1 timeout remaining, the Niners got to work. The drive opened with the pass to Deebo Samuel.
That is a book thrown by.
2 plays later, Lance found Brandon Ayuk for 27 yards, and the Niners were finally deep in Houston's territory.
The 30 and out of bounds goes Brandon Ayuk.
After an incomplete pass and a false start on Tom Compton, Lance had one more chance to at least set up Robbie Gould. The 12-yard pass to Ayuk would get the offense in the Texans' red zone.
Field by Ayuk. That's a great catch.
With 3 seconds left, Gould would try to get the team on the board with a 37-yard field goal.
Kick on its way, and it is good as time expires here in the first half.
You have no idea how befuddled the crowd was at Levi Stadium. I'm at my first Niners game since high school, and it's shades of 1993. They were trailing an inferior opponent. Even my sister couldn't believe it. Do you think you guys can do better here? The Panthers are actually helping you. Niners got the ball to start the second half. 4th down on the Texans' 24-yard line, nothing a Gould 39-yard field goal can't handle. Wait, you're not going to take the points? What are you doing, Shanahan?
And that ball is incomplete on the far side.
Ugh. This is the Texans. An easy win. Why are you making this hard? Houston took over and their drive gets truncated after Mills throws a pick intended for Chris Conley.
That pass intercepted at the 40-yard line. Loose ball. And the Texans think they got it back. After the interception, the ruling on field is that intercepting players' forward progress was stopped prior to any loss of possession of the ball. Wow. It is an interception. First down, San Francisco.
Oh, you guys thought it was a fumble, but it wasn't. Okay, guys, do you think you can finally make them pay? Well, after a pass interference call on Terrence Mitchell on the first play and 3 plays later, the Niners were inside the Texans' 10. Elijah Mitchell would answer the question.
This is Mitchell, touchdown.
Finally, the 49ers were on top. After each team punted, the Texans would have possession going into the fourth quarter. Starting on their own 10, Houston would get as far as the Niners' 27-yard line. Kaimi Fairbairn would try to kick a 45-yard field goal to even up the game. Oh well. The Niners took over, and after 3 plays, this was when the player whose jersey I got for Christmas came up big. This was more like it. After the Texans gave up and punted again, the Niners were looking to put away this team. I've got some footage of Trey Lance doing so.
Gonna do it himself.
Hold up, wait a minute. The dagger has to come back out because Ayuk was called for holding.
So Brandon Ayuk.
I guess another gold field goal would have to do.
It is perfect.
After the Texans failed to do anything on their next possession, Gold would add 3 more to the lead with a 36-yarder.
It is just automatic.
While Mills completed 6 consecutive passes on the Texans' last gasp, it wouldn't amount to much.
It doesn't matter, you're not winning this game. Don't matter. That's it.
Like the last Niners game I went to against a vastly inferior opponent in 1993, the Niners woke up in the second half and remembered who they were playing. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. Heading to Week 18, wait, there's a Week 18 now? Huh, just like 1993. Anyway, there were 2 remaining open wildcard spots and 3 teams that could get in. The Saints were 8-8 and had an opportunity to sneak their way in. The Eagles and 49ers had the inside track at 9-7. Pretty much for the Niners, it was win and they were in. But their final opponent wasn't going to make it easy. A trip to SoFi Stadium in Inglewood was on the schedule against the Rams, a team looking to clinch the division and possibly be a bona fide Super Bowl contender. The Rams meant business, leading by 14 at the half, and the Niners came back to tie the game in the third quarter. 2 touchdowns by Deebo Samuel would complete the 17-point comeback. After the Rams took the lead with less than 3 minutes left in regulation, Jimmy G showed that he still got it. A short pass to Juwan Jenkins with 30 seconds left would tie the game and call for overtime. The Niners had the ball to start the 10-minute overtime period. 7 minutes and change later, they were able to wrangle 3 points with a 24-yard field goal from Gold. The Rams would have a shot to either tie or win. They didn't get far as Matthew Stafford launched a pass to Odell Beckham Jr.
Picked off. Intercepted by Embry Thomas. If it stands, and it looks like it will, the 49ers have won, and they're in the playoffs.
The Niners would punch their ticket for the playoffs. In fact, almost everybody in the NFC West would qualify for the playoffs. I said almost everybody. Meanwhile, the Eagles lost and the Saints won. But since the Eagles beat the Saints before Thanksgiving, the Eagles got in and the Saints would get the door slammed in their face. But enough about 7 seeds getting in via tiebreakers. Let's see how far the Niners could get this time. I remember in the 90s, the road to the Super Bowl would go through the Dallas Cowboys. If a team couldn't beat Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin, they wouldn't be getting far. I saw the Niners get roadblocked twice in that decade by the Cowboys before finally getting over the hump in the 1994 season. That was the last time these 2 storied franchises met in an NFL playoff game. 26 years later, much has changed. Well, except for Cowboys ownership. Instead of Steve Young versus Aikman, it was now Jimmy G against Dak Prescott. Ricky Watters versus Emmitt Smith then, Elijah Mitchell against Ezekiel Elliott in 2021. Jerry Rice and Michael Irvin are now replaced with Deebo and CeeDee Lamb. The Cowboys had the best season since Prescott's rookie year in 2016. The team was primed to get back to the Super Bowl. Not if Mitchell, Samuel, and Gold have something to say about it. After the third quarter, the Niners were up 23-7 and looking to embarrass the NFC East champions. Dallas kicker Greg Zuerlein began the comeback with a 51-yard field goal. After Anthony Brown intercepted a Garoppolo pass on the next Niners possession, Prescott wasted little time finding the end zone and bringing dem boys within 6. While the Niners didn't do anything significant in their next drive, they melted off over 5 minutes in the fourth. It only took the Cowboys a minute of game time to turn the ball over on downs. The Niners would shave off another minute and punted to give the Cowboys one last shot to win.
You need someone, San Francisco, to get to the quarterback here. Prescott takes off running.
On the game's final possession, Prescott got the Cowboys on the Niners' 24-yard line and was hoping to spike the ball. One little problem after that run. Time was up. "You're out of time, Dak," I said as the final whistle was blown. Another Niners win, another dance to Coldplay in my living room. Oh, and they did the football world a favor by knocking off the Cowboys. You're welcome. I remember in the 2010s, regardless of who the quarterback was for the Niners, Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers would be a roadblock on a few occasions. It was no different in the 2021 season, except the Packers were the number 1 seed of the NFC coming off their bye week. This meant that the Niners would have to brave the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Granted, 15 degrees in Wisconsin on a Saturday night in January isn't exactly frozen, but compared to where I live, baby, it was cold outside. These two met in week 3 of the season, with the Packers getting some payback for humiliations of years past. Okay, the Packers choked away a lead as large as 17 points and nearly lost the game in the last minute until Mason Crosby bailed the Pack out with a walk-off field goal. It wouldn't be a high-scoring slugfest this time around. Both defenses and the elements came out to play. The Packers started off things with a short touchdown run by A.J. Dillon. Later in the third quarter, the Niners finally got on the board courtesy of a 29-yard kick by Gould. In the fourth quarter, Crosby would hit a 33-yarder to put the Pack up by 7. On the Niners' next possession, Jimmy G led the team to the Packers' red zone. Instead of taking the points, why not go for it?
And Mitchell won't get it.
You get nothing. You're gonna lose. Good night, sir. The Niners' defense would step up and keep the Packers from capitalizing on the poor decision to go for it. Hopefully, whoever's returning the punt can get the Niners good field position.
Games and it's blocked. Up into the air and spinning inside the 10. Picked up and a touchdown.
What a shocking turn of events! After that special team score, the momentum was on the Niners' side. After Rodgers found his offense stifled again, maybe the Niners could finish it off as they took over with plenty of time left. Starting on their own 29-yard line, 2 outcomes were possible. Do nothing and go to overtime, or score and give the Packers no time to work with. They chose the latter and milked the clock to nearly nothing. On the Packers' 27-yard line and 4 seconds left, it was time for some playoff gold.
Kick was down the middle and good. 49ers win it.
The win in Dallas was a pleasant surprise. The upset in Green Bay would put whoever was left in the NFC on notice. The Niners would have to stay on the road for the NFC title game. The good news, they wouldn't have to travel far, just a short plane ride to LAX. I remember in the 80s, the road to the Super Bowl went through the 49ers. If a team couldn't stop Joe Montana, they wouldn't be going far. Unless if that team were the Giants, Vikings, or whatever the football team in Washington were calling themselves in the olden days. One team that learned that lesson the hard way was the Los Angeles Rams in the 1989 season. That was the last time these two teams faced each other in an NFL playoff game. Coincidentally enough, it was for the NFC Championship. Long before the Rams moved to St. Louis and boomeranged back to LA, they got obliterated 30-3 in that championship game. Fast forward 32 years later. Going into this game, the Niners have had the Rams' number over the past 3 seasons. 6 in a row against their divisional rivals since 2019. In the Week 18 finale at SoFi, it was a red wave as a lot of Niner fans would invade the home the Rams shared with that other team in LA. But don't worry, the Rams and Ticketmaster found a way to solve that problem. Sorry, Niner fans, you can't buy tickets because you don't live in the greater Los Angeles area. A couple of things those two faceless corporations didn't consider. Resale markets exist, and they don't care who buys their tickets or where the buyer lives. Also, you do know that some of the people that do live in the greater Los Angeles area are Bay Area transplants that root for the Niners, right? Just ask the good people of Raider Nation in Las Vegas on New Year's Day. After a scoreless first quarter, the actual home team would strike first. Matt Stafford would hit Cooper Kupp with a 16-yard touchdown pass.
He's got it. Touchdown Rams.
The 49ers replied on the next drive. Garoppolo found Debo. Debo snatched the ball like a chain off Red's neck and made for the end zone.
And in for the touchdown.
To close the half, Gould would put the Niners up by 3.
And it is now 21 of 21 in his postseason career.
On the Niners' second possession of the second half, they would get some insurance as Jimmy G connected with George Kittle on a long drive that ran 11 plays and shaved off almost 6 minutes.
Touchdown 49ers.
The 49ers were put in a familiar scenario, a 10-point lead in a playoff game with the fourth quarter left to play. The Rams still had possession to start the fourth quarter, and they would begin to chip away. Another trip to the end zone for Kupp.
Got it. Touchdown Rams.
After the Niners did nothing, the Rams would wipe away that lead in a matter of minutes. Starting from their own 15-yard line, LA marched all the way to the Niners' 21, and this was when Matt Gay would tie the game.
He's got it to tie the game at 17.
On the next drive, the Niners turned into the Atlanta Falcons again, throwing the ball repeatedly and doing nothing. The Rams would start on their own 30, milk almost 5 minutes, and had Gay give them the lead.
He's got it. Rams are on top. 20-17.
So, Super Bowl 51 or Super Bowl 54? They both can be proper analogies because that's how this story would end, the same as the last time the Niners got far in the playoffs. On third down of the next possession, Garoppolo threw a pick to Travin Howard.
Intercepted by the Rams, and they may ride to the Super Bowl on that.
Stafford got in victory formation, and finally, after 6 losses in a row, the Rams got the better of the Niners. The Rams had one more game to win. The good news, they wouldn't have to go far. Super Bowl 56 would be played in Inglewood. Their opponent had to travel from Ohio. No need to worry about ticket restrictions. The 49ers would be taking that short plane ride back to, well, the stadium's not too far from that city, so I'll just assume it was San Jose. Well, there's always next year. Shoot. I got to be a part of something I haven't been a part of in a very, very, very long time. When I was there on January 2nd, 2022.
At this time, please stand and join in a moment of silent reflection in memory of John Madden, who had an indelible impact on football, the NFL, and generations of fans. Thank you.